Hola chicos, hoy vamos a aprender el presente perfecto y el pluscuamperfecto. El pluscuamperfecto es una palabra muy grande que significa el pasado perfecto. El presente perfecto y el pasado perfecto, pero el pasado perfecto también significa el pluscuamperfecto. I'm telling you, you are gonna impress your next Spanish teacher in college when you tell them you know el pluscuamperfecto. So today we're going to study the present perfect and the past perfect. Que aquí vamos. Okay, so let's look at the past perfect and the present perfect in English, right? So you need two things. You need a past participle, right? You need the past participle and you need a helping verb. So the two things you definitely need to create the past perfect or any perfect tense. Let's talk about that main verb. So you need this main verb, right? Or the helping verb, and then you need the past participle. And I really recommend that you decide what color you want the helping verb to be and what color you want the past participle to be, so you can keep that continuity throughout this presentation. This helps you put things in long-term memory, right? Less studying and long-term memory is the way we want to go. So in English, notice that all the verbs here is the verb to be. Has is a verb to be, have is a verb to be, have, has. Notice that has, have, has. They're all in the present tense. You know why this helping verb is in the present tense? Because it's the present perfect. Y el presente perfecto siempre tiene el tiempo verbal en el presente. Okay, so this is the one that changes. This is the one that gets conjugated, the helping verb. He has eaten. They have eaten. I have eaten. We have eaten. You have eaten. She has eaten. If you notice, the conjugation of he, they, I, we, you, she changes, but the past participle, once it's created in English, it does not change. I was able to use eaten for all of them. That's what happens in Español. El participio pasado nunca cambia. El verbo haber en español sí cambia. The helping verb, which in Spanish is not the verb to be, but is haber, that's the one that's going to get conjugated. This one is going to be created once, and that's it. You're going to use this one for every single conjugation. The first verb is the one that has to get conjugated. Let's go ahead and see some more. Okay. So, ¿cómo creamos el participio pasado en español? Y recuerden, el participio pasado está en azul, ¿verdad? En inglés, ahora vamos a aprender esta parte del participio pasado en español. ¿Cómo creamos el participio pasado? Fácil. Quitas AR y pones ADO. Eso solamente. Tan fácil, chicos. Quitas AR y escribe ADO. Hablar, hablado. Pensar, pensado. Llegar, llegado. Nadar, nadado. Almorzar, ¿qué? Almorzado. Estar, ¿qué? Estado, ¿vale? So quitas la AR, quitas AR y escribes ADO. Perfecto. Y recuerden, el participio pasado es verbo número 2. Necesitas 2 verbos para crear el presente perfecto. Necesitas el participio pasado y el verbo haber. Continuemos. Para crear el participio pasado, past participle, en español, para los verbos que terminan en ER e IR, quitas ER o IR y escribes ido. Perfecto, chicos, fácil. Comer, comido. Leer, leído. Oops. And those of you who are looking later, you're like, Profe, wait a minute. You said I was supposed to drop the ER and I was supposed to put IDO. Why is there an accent there? Well, student of mine, you have an accent because that one is irregular. In a few minutes, you figure out why. But the rest, just ignore that one. Asistir, asistido. Poder, podido. Querer, querido. Y venir, venido. Okay, let me predict something that may happen. This past participle, once it's created, once you drop the AR and you put auto, once you drop the ER, IR, and you write ito, just as created, it does not have to change again. This is not a conjugation. This is a creation of the past participle. The first part of this verb tense, because this verb tense has how many parts? Yep, 2 parts. You are correct. This verb tense has 2 parts. It has the helping verb. In Spanish is haber. In English is have. And then it has the past participle. The past participle, you guys, as the plane is driving by, flying by the plane. Okay, that second verb, once you create it, you never have to, it's not conjugated, you just created it. Please don't confuse this ido and ado with aba and ia. Aba and ia is the imperfect tense, right? This is just creating a past participle. We create it once and that's it. The first part, haber, is a verb that we're going to conjugate. And I'll show you some more. Okay, so let's look in English because that always helps us if we can have it. How do we create these past participles in English? Let's take a look at these past participles. Okay, so we have the word call. Do you know how you create the past participle? You add ed. Jump, add ed. Look, add ed. And you have tienes irregulares. So have called, have jumped, have looked, but is not have eaten, right? Nope. That's the irregular one. That's have eaten. Have bringed it? Nope. That's irregular. Have brought. So just like in English, once you create that ed, you don't have to change it. The same thing in Spanish. Once you create AR verbs, auto, ER, verbs, ito, you don't have to change it. But there are some irregular ones. But don't panic. I have a song and I have a way for you to remember that, and we're going to practice it in class. So you're going to be safe. I'll take care of you, I promise. But right now, I want you to just take a look at the first verb. By the way, this verb tense, present perfect, it's comprised of how many verbs? Dos verbos. Muy bien. Dos verbos. Dos verbos. El verbo haber y el participio pasado. The verb haber, which in English, you guys use something different. You use the verb to be, but we're going to use haber, and in the past participle. So let's look at we've been looking at the second verb, and hopefully you're putting it in the different color. We're looking at the past participle, this called, jumped, look, eaten, brought. Let's look at the regular ones in Spanish, and it's a specific list. You have to memorize them. So if this was a regular verb, notice how volver would have been volvida, right? You drop the ER. Nope, because it's irregular. Es irregular, es vuelto. Poner no es ponido, es puesto. Abrir no es abrido, es abierto. Cubrir, cubierto. Escribir, escrito. Ver, visto. Morir, muerto. Y decir, dicho. Son los irregulares. Tengo una canción y hacer hecho. That's the bottom one. Hacer hecho. I can't move that little thing right now because if I move it, it'll start recording. And that happened to me once. It won't happen to me twice, you guys. So the last one is hacer, and it's going to be hecho, and I'll show you these in a minute. Okay, here we go. So this is a song, and I am going to have to erase compuesto. Don't worry, I will give you, these will be on your list, on your guided notes. So I'll include the bottom column in guided notes. Okay, so visto is, it comes from ver, to see. Dicho comes from decir, to say. Vuelto comes from volver, to return. Abierto comes from abrir, to open. Cubierto comes from cubrir, to cover. Puesto comes from poner, to place or put. Roto comes from romper, which is broken. Muerto comes from morir, which is dead, deceased. Escrito comes from escribir, right? And it's to write. Leído, traído, ido. These are irregulares because they actually have an accent. They follow the rule except for the accent, and that's why they're in this list. Leído comes from leer, to read. Traídos comes from traer, to bring. And oído comes from oír, which is to hear. Descubierto comes from descubrir, right? To discover. Devuelto comes from devolver, return. Resuelto comes from resolver, resolve. Compuesto comes from comprised, from componer. And then the last one is freír, which comes from freír, which comes that the past participle is frito and is to fry, literally to fry food. So I'm going to go ahead and sing this song with you, and you should have the song in front of you. At least the bottom part, you'll have it in your own guided notes. So here we go. Let's see if you can figure out, because, your teacher doesn't have the best voice in the world, but let's see if you can figure out the tone at the end of the song that I'm singing this to. The tune that I am singing this to. Visto, vuelto, dicho, hecho, dicho, hecho, dicho, hecho. Visto, vuelto, dicho, hecho, abierto, cubierto, puesto, roto, muerto, escrito, 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 roto, muerto, escrito, leído, traído, ido, descubierto, devuelto, 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 descubierto, devuelto, resuelto, compuesto, frito. ¡Yeah! Muy bien, chicos, una vez más. Visto, vuelto, dicho, hecho, dicho, hecho, dicho, hecho, visto, vuelto, dicho, hecho, abierto, cubierto, puesto, roto, muerto, escrito, 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 roto, muerto, escrito, leído, traído, ido, descubierto, devuelto, 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 descubierto, devuelto, resuelto, compuesto, frito. Muy bien, chicos. Esa es la canción para recordar. Vamos a cantar la canción en clase muchas, muchas veces. So van a memorizar la canción. I'm going to warn you though in class, I'm going to make you do the gestures. If you do the gestures at home behind those little black boxes, you're going to memorize this in one class time. But if you don't, it's going to take you a long time. And I don't know if you're going to know it for the final little mini project before your final. Oh, surprise, you're having one little thing before the final. Okay, these are the English part. So you'll be able to have those on your sheet. Let's talk about the helping verb. So far we know that the present perfect, the helping verb is going to be in the present. The past perfect, the helping verb is going to be in the muy bien, past. The future, which you're not going to be, you don't have activities for that, but the future perfect is going to be in the future, and the conditional perfect is going to be in the conditional. So the helping verb is the only one that gets conjugated. The second verb is the past participle, and it gets created once. The helping verb will be conjugated and determines what tense that perfect tense is created. Present perfect, present. Past perfect, past. Future perfect, future. Conditional perfect, conditional. So let's look at the helping verb in Spanish. In the helping verb in English, it was the verb to be, right? In Spanish, it's el verbo haber. Make sure that you're using the same colors that you were using before so your brain can put this in long-term memory, you guys. We need to put those in little file cabinets, neat little file cabinets. Este es el verbo haber en el presente, conjugado en el presente. Yo he, tú has, él ha, nosotros hemos, ellos han. Notice how I didn't say had, or has, or ha, or hemos, or han. Do you know why? Sí, estás correcto. Because the H is not pronounced in Spanish. We don't go in ha, ha. Nope. We start in the vowel. So, e, as, a, hemos, an. 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 Y, e, as, a, hemos, an. So that is the conjugated form of this helping verb in el presente. Para el presente perfecto, right? And the second verb would be the past participle that you already know how to make. Okay, let's see some example. He comido, has querido, ha vuelto, hemos trabajado. Notice how these never change, but your helping verb will. So we're going to skip these for now. Let's talk about the past perfect. Oh, the really, really, really fancy word. Pluscuamperfecto. Pluscuamperfecto. El pasado perfecto. So pasado perfecto means pluscuamperfecto. They both mean the same thing. The other one is a really fancy word that you can impress your future Spanish college professor with. You'll be like, yeah, I know el pluscuamperfecto. I learned it in Mission Vista. Okay. Past, also called the past perfect. Okay. Guess what the helping verb is going to be? Go ahead. Say it out loud, even though people will think you're crazy. Say it out loud at home. What's the helping verb in Espanol? You said haber. You are correct, right? And since it's the past perfect, what verb tense will haber will be in? Got it. It's going to be the past tense because it's the past perfect. So now, so far, you know that in Spanish, there are two past tenses. You know these because they're a pain in the butt. Preterite versus imperfect, right? So we know we have to use either preterite or imperfect. We're not going to use both. We're going to use one. Can you guess which one is going to be used in a minute? What verb tense out of the two past verb tense, which one we're going to use? Okay. And that was anticlimactic because didn't come up. I'll tell you in a minute what verb tense we're going to use. We're just seeing the English before we go to Spanish. Present perfect, he has eaten. Has is in the present tense. Past perfect, he had eaten. Had is in the past tense. The future perfect, he will have eaten. Will have would be the simple future. And the conditional will be he would have eaten. And that's also the conditional in Spanish. Let's see what the past tense is. How do you create the past tense? That's the present. Oh my God. Here it comes. Hey! Había, habías, había, habíamos, habían. So, yep, you guessed correctly. The imperfect tense is which one we're going to use. We're always going to use the imperfect tense to do the past perfect because the imperfect tense is in the past. Perfect tense one. So, the first verb, which is a helping verb, haber, is había, habías, había, habíamos, habían. And then your past participle, look at this, never changes. Once you create it, never changes. Yo había hablado. Please repeat that after me. Yo había hablado. Tú habías hablado. Él había hablado. Nosotros habíamos hablado y ellos habían hablado. ¿Vale? This is had spoken. I had spoken. You had spoken. He, she had spoken. We had spoken and they had spoken. Had in the past tense, not has. Okay, note that the endings of haber for the future, for the perfect tense, are the imperfect. For the past tense, are the imperfect. You guys know this? Había, habíamos, habían, habían, right? The present tense for the present perfect is haber, asa, hemosan, right? And the rest you kind of know too. Future perfect is the future, and the conditional is the conditional future. We're going to bypass these, you guys. We're going to bypass these because we're going to practice in class. So you're going to practice in the next activity. Don't worry. Don't worry. And that's the end of our conversation. You need two things to create this verb tense. Your haber in the conjugated form that you need that perfect tense, and then your past participle. Hasta luego.